Welcome to this explainer. Let's just dive straight in, shall we? Today, we are unpacking a topic that is honestly so common, yet it rarely gets the clarity it actually deserves. We're talking about cycle tracking, specifically for Muslim women, and how to navigate the very real, very frustrating anxiety that comes with spotting. If you've ever felt completely overwhelmed by unpredictable changes in your cycle and, how they impact your daily worship, you are in exactly the right place. Our goal today is to look at the facts, break down the confusion, and really transform that stress into empowered observation. A tiny spot can create a huge question. Wow, if that doesn't hit the nail on the head, right? That perfectly captures the exact moment the panic just starts. For so many women, spotting isn't just some biological thing happening in the background. It's an immediate trigger for uncertainty. You're just going about your day, everything is totally normal, and then suddenly one spot appears. And in literally a split second, your entire routine is thrown into question. It's this sudden wave of frustration. You kind of lose trust in what your body is doing, and the anxiety instantly spikes. And that huge question usually boils down to just this. Can I pray right now? Or maybe, can I fast today? Or, wait, do I need to make ghusl? The technical question about what is physically happening is almost always overshadowed by the heavy emotional weight of wanting to maintain valid worship. Because, of course, you want to get it right. You want your prayer to count. But when the signs aren't clear, that deep desire to do things correctly creates a massive amount of worship anxiety. It can feel incredibly isolating. But as we're going to see today, you are absolutely not alone in dealing with this. So here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll be covering 1. Sudden anxiety, 2. Worship uncertainty, 3. What to track, 4. Organizing with Noor, 5. Expert boundaries, and finally, 6. Finding calm. Let's get started.
Section 1. Sudden anxiety, the common moment.
So when that sudden anxiety hits, a lot of us immediately turn to our standard period apps. But here's the thing. Generic period apps mostly just predict dates. They focus entirely on cycle length and ovulation. They completely fail to answer, well, honestly, they just aren't built to answer the critical, faith-based questions that Muslim women actually face. A generic app has no idea if you need to perform ghusl. It doesn't understand tahara, or purity. It doesn't know the crucial difference between haid, which is menstruation, and istihada, which is irregular bleeding. And when those generic predictions inevitably break down, the anxiety just gets so much worse.
Section 2. Worship uncertainty, emotional confusion.
So what exactly do we mean by worship uncertainty? It's that messy mix of emotional and practical confusion about whether to pray, fast, make ghusl, resume your worship, or just wait during a period of ambiguous bleeding. And I want to take a second here and neutralize something absolutely crucial. Experiencing this uncertainty is not a spiritual failure. Menstruation does not make you spiritually impure or lesser. The confusion you're feeling, it isn't because you're doing something wrong. It's literally just because human bodies are incredibly complex and the signs aren't always clear-cut. The reality is, most of us aren't confused about our actual full-on period. It's the edge cases that drive us crazy. Take these very common scenarios, for example. Light spotting right before your period is officially supposed to start. Or what about brown discharge showing up right when you thought the bleeding was done and you were completely ready to make ghusl? What about seeing just one single spot and then absolutely nothing else the rest of the day? Or dealing with intermittent bleeding, especially during super high stakes times like Ramadan. And hey, if you have PCOS or irregular cycles, this feeling is often totally magnified because prediction reliability is already so low. These are the exact moments where worship uncertainty just peaks. Section 3. What to track. Observation over panic. So the real game changer here is treating spotting as an observation-first situation. Before you can even think about getting a ruling, you need clear data. You have to track exactly what you see. Note the date and time it started. Note the precise color. Is it red, brown, yellow, pink, clear, or white? Track the actual amount too. Was it just one tiny spot on a tissue, a light trace, or a visible flow? Pay attention to the timing. Did it happen before your expected period or right after you thought you saw signs of purity? And finally, make sure to track any pain, unusual symptoms, or if the bleeding seems unusually prolonged. And listen, sequence is just as vital as the symptoms themselves. It's like a puzzle. It's not just about what happened, but exactly when it happened in relation to everything else. For example, the end of a period is rarely this clean, perfectly obvious moment, right? Tracking the exact timeline, say, noting that you expected your period, then you had some spotting, then you saw apparent purity like dryness or white discharge, and then you saw brown discharge. That specific sequence is incredibly important. You really have to track the timeline of your observations both before and after performing ghusl.
Section 4, Organizing with Noor, a clear timeline.
Now, this is exactly where Noor Tracker comes in as a faith-aligned tool that's built specifically to organize all this uncertainty. Instead of spiraling into panic, you just follow a really simple logical workflow. Step 1, you observe the spot. Step 2, you log those highly specific worship-relevant details straight into Noor: the colors, the flow, the purity signs, the whole shebang. Step 3, Noor automatically organizes this into a clear chronological timeline. And Step 4, because you now have beautifully organized data instead of just anxious, jumbled memories, you are perfectly prepared to bring clear notes to an expert if you need to ask a question. You literally transform anxiety into structured observation. But we absolutely need to be clear about what Noor is and what it isn't. Noor is a tracking tool, full stop. It is not a mufti, it is not a scholar, and it is definitely not a medical doctor. Noor does not issue fatwas. It cannot diagnose medical conditions like PCOS, and it can't tell you if your bleeding is medically normal. And most importantly, Noor cannot automatically know what religious ruling applies to your own highly specific situation. It's there to provide worship-aware educational context and organize your data, not to issue legal or medical decrees. Section 5. Expert boundaries. When to ask for help. It is absolutely crucial to know who to ask based on the data you track. You should definitely take your clear Noor timeline to a religious scholar when you're unsure how your specific school of thought applies, when the signs of purity are just entirely unclear, or if you're dealing with repeating patterns of intermittent bleeding that are confusing your worship. On the flip side, you must take your data to a medical clinician if you experience severe pain, if your bleeding is exceptionally heavy or prolonged, or if you have any unusual medical symptoms whatsoever. Basically, keep the religious questions for the scholars and the medical safety questions for the doctors. Make sense, right? Section 6. Finding calm. Track without fear. This right here, this might be the single most important takeaway from our whole explainer today. Track what you see, not what you fear. When that sudden spot appears, our minds immediately rush to the absolute worst-case scenario. We fear invalidating our fast, we fear making a mistake with our prayers. But false certainty, jumping to a conclusion without actually having the facts, just isn't helpful. Step back, look at the data, let observation take the wheel. The simple act of just observing and logging brings such a profound sense of calm, simply because it gives you a practical, actionable next step. So, if you are tired of generic apps that just don't understand your faith, and if you are completely exhausted by the constant guessing game of worship uncertainty, let Noor help you organize the details. It is specifically built to support you around hayd, tahara, ghusl, fasting, and irregular bleeding. It's just a really gentle, practical way to keep better notes, whether that's for your own peace of mind, for your scholar, or for your clinician. So I'm going to leave you with a final thought to chew on today. Are you ready to transform your worship anxiety into empowered observation? The next time a tiny spot creates a huge question, just remember that you already have the tools to track the facts, find the pattern, and seek the right guidance with total confidence. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep observing and take control of your peace of mind.